Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, warning. That stupid fire alarm is about to go off any second. When it does, we'll just have to shut up because I have to head under the table and grab my ears. Susan, are you there?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for bringing me on just in time for the thing to...
I know. Well, it's supposed to go at 10. It's a little late already. Sometimes it's just going to... I'm warning you, there's a sign in the lobby that says it's going to happen.
Isn't it the first Tuesday? Wasn't that last week?
No, it's May 8th today. So it would have been May 1st last?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why didn't they do... Oh, was that it wasn't a holiday. We don't take... May Day off, do we, in this country? No. That would be... Here we go! Well, I don't know. Okay, it's... All right. Well, it's working as far as I can tell. Oh, God.
Glad my dog can't hear it.
I bet dogs would go nuts. The maintenance guy is standing outside with his fingers in his ears. What's he doing up here? All right. Shut up! Oh,
Jeez.
You know, sometimes it starts up again. You think it's done? Okay. So, hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm in Green Bay.
Oh, you're still in Green Bay?
Yes.
Well, that's nice. How are things in the Bay?
I wasn't meant to be, but our mother had a slight infection, so...
Oh, did she?
I've stayed until we got it under control.
Oh, is this the thing in her foot, in her toe?
Yeah, she had a cellulitis, which freaked her out.
I bet it did. Wow.
So the good news is she's much better. And, well, I'll just tell you this while that damn thing is going. And we're going back to Chicago. She's coming back to Chicago with me for Mother's Day. So that's all the family news, folks.
Okay, well, that's nice. So when are you going? Tomorrow or something?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Well, that's nice. I knew it. They were doing a twofer today. I just knew it. So the cellulitis is under control that quickly?
Yes, her foot looks a normal color again. And here's the other thing, and I know this is boring to everybody, so I apologize.
Yeah,
it's
but nobody's listening because of this. Quick.
That's what I'm telling you. It's momentous news. Guess who hired a pool guy?
Mom? You mean a maintenance kind of a guy?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
No, weekly.
Thank you very much. Are you kidding?
No,
she's going to have some...
momentous.
My God.
No, and it's courtesy of her good friend Sharon, who got this guy to show up and then told her in no uncertain terms that the condition of his showing up is that she had to actually use him all year. And mother demurred, and then I jumped in, and between Sharon and me together, we got our 95-year-old mother for the first time in her life
to stop doing the pool,
to give over the daily care of the swimming pool in her backyard.
That's great. Good.
Yeah.
Although that was sort of our brother
it won't stop her, but there'll be somebody that if she doesn't feel like doing it is going to show up anyway.
Doing battle with the pool is sort of what animates her existence during the summer months. Don't you think?
Well, it's seed season, so we're in the
It's so dirty. This season. So, Mom, it's called regeneration. It's called seeds so that the trees can replenish. It's in my pool. Oh, God. For those that we haven't mentioned, my mother is a swimmer and has been swimming regularly since she was a kid. So it's important to her. Her pool. Oh, God. So, well, that's all incredible news. That is, Susan, and thank you for bringing me up to date.
All the
and
news
I'm glad.
fit to print.
Okay, I'm glad Mom is well. No one tells me anything.
Well, I tried to. She wouldn't let me because why should you be as worried sick as she was? So I'm telling you at the end of the story when it's no longer a story.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad you were there then. So. Well, Susan, in the broader world,
Another white man, yet again, thinks that women like to beat up and that it was consensual role-playing sex.
Yeah, when he slapped
Isn't
him
it
and
amazing how
choked
men
him.
have these...
I know. All I want to say is, what is wrong with these guys? These are, okay, so we know that this is a kind of, I mean, I don't know. The guys we hear about are movers and shakers, are respected men of consequence.
And I think they must all feel like imposters, and so they take out their supreme lack of confidence by beating the crap out of women, makes them feel better, and then they go back to being their powerful men.
Yeah, but no, beating the crap out of women would not make them, that would just be another acting out of their being all powerful. I mean,
well, that's how they convince themselves. I'm just here to tell you, I don't think there's any... It's a very small subset of women that enjoy having the crap beaten out of them. I'm just going to put it out there. And they, like the guys that like to do it, need help.
In case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, it's the very powerful Attorney General of New York State, who is the latest to be accused and has resigned. It was...
And publicly is a defender of all women in their rights.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, this guy was he's the one who's been going after Weinstein.
Mm-hmm. Well, not anymore. He seems to have lost his credibility.
Yes, but his office will continue to do so. But he's the top law enforcement officer in the state of New York. Huge political ambitions.
What's with the men in that office in New York? Wasn't Elliot Spitzer there before?
I think Spitzer was there before.
He had a prostitute issue.
And yeah, but that's that. I'll give him a pass, for God's sakes, on that. He was
that was relatively normal. He had a business deal.
Yeah,
paid for it fair and square.
Yeah, he didn't abuse her. That was he was the governor at the time.
How quaint!
he was the governor at the time. So
yeah, that was very quaint.
No, and then there was another mayor. Remember Patterson? Wasn't he the mayor, or was he the governor? He was black and he was blind. Do you remember him?
I thought he was a judge.
No. I think he was the governor.
Yeah, I remember the blind guy. Maybe he was governor.
And maybe he was governor after Spitzer. He came in because when Spitzer went down. And then it turns out something with him.
Right. Well, it turns out being blind has nothing to do with his nether regions.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to. I just have this vague memory of him having some kind of an issue as well. But good God in heaven, if these men think of all the guys. I mean, many of us obviously know some of them. Think of all of them in the private sector whose notoriety, whose behavior is never outed by virtue of the power they do hold in their smaller orbit, less public orbit.
Well, there was a case in Green Bay like that, of a major businessman in town who was literally sued by a male employee for creating a hostile work environment because he was screwing every woman in the place.
And a male ended up suing him?
A male sued him for creating a hostile work environment.
Why didn't the women?
They weren't. I don't know. I'm not all that familiar with the case, but the man felt that it was a hostile work environment, that it totally swayed the way things worked in the office, and it was unfair and inappropriate, and he won the case.
Well, I do want to point out that at least when this guy's a Democrat, at least when Democrats get accused of this stuff, other than, of course,
they have the decency to resign.
Other than, of course, Bill Clinton. You have the decency. Yeah, exactly. And the Democrats go after him. All you have to do is look at Susan's former home state of Missouri to see a Republican, a governor, facing all kinds of criminal charges.
I know. I mean, the felonies just keep piling up.
And refusing to go. And Susan, there was a story, I don't know if you saw the story in Sunday's New York Times about the member of the House here in Pennsylvania who has a bodyguard at her side from the moment.
Oh, I did. I read it.
Do you believe that?
And that is just shocking.
Do you believe that?
And to hear what they are saying, which is that there's no proof. This his spokesman saying it's just her word against his, and I'm thinking to myself, do you think the courts hand out protective orders on no evidence?
And do you think that two women essentially give the same kind of MO for this guy? And the House itself, doing an investigation, found that her allegations were credible. And that guy still sits in the House, and they're letting him. You know what they're doing? They're letting him sit till the end of this term, because then he will have enough years of service so that he'll be wholly vested in the extraordinarily generous pension system where we, the taxpayers of Pennsylvania, will let him live in the lap of luxury with a Cadillac health insurance plan for him and his family for the rest of his life. That's why they're letting him stay till the end of this term. Is that not disgusting?
It's pretty disgusting.
Oh. So, and it's primary day, ladies and gentlemen.
The part that got me though is those words of his spokesperson, who is who's just sitting there going, there's no evidence. Why would you believe her when the bodyguard exists because of a court-ordered protection? I don't know. How can they just pretend like that doesn't exist?
I don't know, Suze. It's all beyond belief. And this is truly a bipartisan thing, because it's Republican guys, it's Democratic guys, it's just guys. And I'm sorry for...
Well, I mean, there has clearly been a wholesale shift in what was allowed then and what is no longer allowed. And women, the good old days don't exist for men anymore in that regard.
Well, I think
so.
I think they do in a lot of play. I don't think we can say that yet. I think this is high profile
stuff. More
stuff.
of a chance than you used to be. Let's just put it that way.
I'll agree with that totally. For guys to continue to act like, all women are theirs for their taking. I don't. I think you better tread a lot more carefully. First of all, women aren't taking it anymore. Do you know, I saw that, and it's the way I felt. This is how I was raised, okay? I never got to talk about how you don't have to do anything, you know. There was never any conversation about sort of self-protection.
No, the only conversation I ever had with our mother about that was when I was 16, and she was asking me how to handle one of Dad's business partners that was hitting on her.
Reuben.
Yeah. That was the conversation that I had, giving Mother advice.
Okay, so that's the way it was. And I saw a quote from Helen Gurley Brown, now deceased, the former...
the anti-feminist.
Well, did she write Sex and the Single Girl, or did she? And she was also
She did. She wrote how to use your sexuality to get what
ahead.
You wanted.
And she
and
it worked for her.
With the basic premise that you're nuts if you don't. And I tend to agree with her. And I would be lying if I didn't say that it helped me get my first job on Wall Street.
Right. If you just well, you didn't necessarily bed somebody, but you flirted. I
didn't bed somebody, but I dressed, in a business attire that had a slightly sexual edge, and sat in front of my male interviewer and crossed my legs and got the job.
Yeah, but you don't know if that's why. But anyway, I understand, and that's how women were taught to use what you got. But here's what she said, and when I saw the quote, it blew me away, because it is how I internalized that quote. I don't remember ever reading it, but throughout my young professional career, she said, if a man makes an advance, if he touches you, if he makes salacious comments, if he clearly indicates he wants you, she said, you should be flattered. And that is how I, in my 20s, even I think into my 30s, I mean, to say it now is so amazing, but I was flattered. I thought, wow, I must be, especially, and the more powerful they were, the more you're flattered, which, you wonder how these ugly, despicable, powerful men can get any woman they want, because the women are flattered. Not so much anymore. But we were taught by the self-appointed woman who knew everything, the editor of Cosmo, that we should be flattered. They ain't teaching that anymore.
No, and the young mothers that I know go to great lengths with the older women that they know, like me, who are just so, reflexively conditioned to meet a little girl and explain, oh, how so beautiful pretty. You are.
I know.
You're so gorgeous. What a pretty little dress. And I mean, I get, if that accidentally falls out of my mouth these days, I know that I am, if I look up, I will see daggers shooting out of,
I know.
And they smile, and they say, you ought to see how smart she is.
That's right. And it's hard, obviously, when you're meeting a little kid. You don't know how smart she is. The first thing you see is she's cute, or her dress is pretty.
Right.
So that's a very superficial thing to say. But that is that's what little girls, and then bigger girls, and then young women hear from day one. Oh, you're so pretty. And it adds up that's their job. That's what they're praised for. That's what's important.
That's all that they're worth.
So you'd have to spend a little time. So
really,
what could you say to?
I was just going over that in my mind, Lynn. Here's what you say. How do you do? It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And then you treat them like any other person, and you start a conversation until you know what to talk to them about. You don't meet grown-ups, and the first thing you say is, I find you attractive.
Yeah.
You say, how do you do?
Well, I was embarrassed. Susan, I was embarrassed the other day at my dentist's office. As I was leaving, I was at the desk waiting to pay some exorbitant sum for having my teeth cleaned. And the woman behind the desk said, "Oh, what a beautiful necklace." And I think it is too, and I do get lots of compliments. So I said, "Well, thank you," just as I heard someone to my left say, "Well, thank you." And then I looked, and she wasn't looking at my necklace. She was looking at the other woman's necklace. And then in the embarrassed split second, everyone turned to look at my necklace, and they admitted, "Well, that is beautiful too." But those were three women who did not know each other, and that is how we interacted. We complimented on what we were, adorned with. I mean, that or nothing else. I wasn't going to say, "So did you vote for Donald Trump?" I mean, it was just sort of making conversation, I guess. But little girls, don't do it, guys. Don't do it. Don't perpetuate this damn thing that little girls learn.
If women can't think of anything of value to say to each other than about their appearance, this is what, as I call my post-mating feminist, reaction to all of this, is I am continually oppressed by how much we have just accepted this cultural slavery about our appearances.
Well, we totally have.
We can't break out of it.
No, we can't. The amount of time that we spend worrying about our hair, our makeup, our clothes, our weight, our legs, our shoes, body parts here and there. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And I mean, I'm not faulting us for it. We've been carefully bred over centuries to feel that our job is to mate. I mean, that is, but after a while, it can't all be about attracting a mate.
It's not it's not even all about mating. It's also about being attractive, but also charming and pleasing and smiling. There's no male equivalent to resting bitch face, right? Because women are always told to smile. We are to be adornments. We are to make others feel comfortable. And,
No, but if we accept, Lynn, that when men get older, they become more distinguished looking, and when women get older, they get ugly. And they better do something about it and pretend that they look younger. And as long as we mindlessly buy into this, there ain't no hope. We can't blame men for treating us like we're stupid objects there for their desire, because we are living our lives as if we are stupid objects placed there for their desire.
But it's easy, look, our heads can get woke. We can see now how it's had an impact on our lives, on our emotional health, on all kinds of stuff. But knowing is not. You can't turn it around. It is internalized since
it's totally internalized.
Infancy.
But
you can be aware.
You can try and turn yourself onto it a little bit.
Be aware of it. I think pushing back as much as possible.
For those of you that are still on Facebook, just scroll down and see how many times on your Facebook page it comes up 10 things older women should never wear, do, say, be, and they're like, who the fuck said? You have to have short hair. You have to have long hair. You shouldn't be gray. You must be gray. You shouldn't wear red. You shouldn't wear, who said?
Yeah, it's endless.
It's constant.
Endless. Oh. So anyway, I don't know. So this is all because
I don't either. I'm just saying that,
okay. Let's let it
enough.
let it be. By the way, more have come forward with accusations about Charlie Rose, and last time we heard he was plotting his comeback. Jesus Christ. And speaking of comebacks, speaking of these repulsive men turning up again, the new president of the National Rifle Association is Ollie North. Ollie North. Here's what Wayne LaPierre, these are two wonderful men, even if, one doesn't know whether they paw at women, but they manage to be horrific, horrible human beings without that, even absent that.
Yeah, they don't even have to get to that threshold.
Right. Here's what Wayne said about Ollie. Oliver North is a legendary warrior for American freedom. Last time I looked, he was selling military equipment to Iran and using the proceeds to secretly fund, against U.S. law, the Contra rebellion in Nicaragua. That's the last time I looked.
And it did almost seem to bring down Bush #1.
Unbelievable.
And totally disgrace Ollie. Isn't that the way the history went?
It didn't totally disgrace. Here's what we found out. If you're a guy like Ollie North, who ends up, being accused of all kinds of crime, convicted of said crime, then having it overturned years later on, he got lucky because his lawyers found that a way for a judge to throw it out had nothing to do with the fact that he had done what he had been convicted of. But he was rewarded throughout. First of all, he became a talk show host.
I was going to say, he got the #1 reward, an AM right-wing talk show.
That's right. Just like G. Gordon Liddy. If you are a criminal and a Republican, man, they cannot stop rewarding you enough and calling you things like a legendary warrior for freedom. Give me a break. He says, and Pierre says, I can think of no better person to serve as our president, the NRA. Well, no, I can't either. A convicted lying felon. That would be absolutely perfect to head the NRA. It's one of the few times I've agreed with Wayne LaPierre. We have a call. Caller, hello.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
I've actually been wanting to call. First of all, the conservatives have such a ridiculous double standard. What goes for them is so different than who they're judging. But I've been trying to call in when Sue was on, going all the way back to Rachel Maddow's false eyelashes. But the thing is, with the focus on our appearances and this line of crap we've been fed since we're little girls, the beautiful princess, the ugly witch, blah, blah, blah. This is societal, and it's deeper than, it's actually, we are valued. That is part of the value system that we have. We are valued by our appearance, which is outrageous because they don't do that to men. A friend of mine had said, hey, Mayor, this was a guy, he said, Mayor, women will never be equal to men until we can walk down the street with a beer belly and a bald head and think we're hot. And that is right on. So I'm not on Facebook, and I try to limit my exposures, but there's a group that are women haters. And I think they go by INCEL. I don't know.
No. You're talking about incels, and that is a group of guys who can't get laid, and they've decided. Yeah, they've decided
and they're rejected. And the whole taking this whole back to our stupid, crazy society. So these men, so they can't get a woman, And it never dawns on them, why not up your ante and try to get your shit together and do the right. Oh, I know a million women that would love. We're almost programmed to never give up on a man, to, it's just, the majority of women that I know would love to have a mate. Boom. That's what, even at our age. And all these guys, it never enters their head, how about do the right thing and you can get a woman? There's a million women out there would love to have the companionship of a man. And that makes me think about
Let me tell you, they're fewer and fewer. Especially older women. Especially older women.
But in the meantime,
look, when women get divorced, I just want to say, when a man and woman get divorced, like in their 50s or 60s, maybe even 40s, the men can't remarry fast enough because they need women.
Yeah.
The
and
women often say, "Are you kidding? Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty." Free at last.
And also the widowers. And I belong to a cancer support group, and I could not believe how fast the men re-hooked up that fast. It blew my mind. But on the topic of women hate, and it is so prevalent in our society, this seething. You speak of cancer. It's this woman hate, and I try to be open-minded and look. Why? Exactly why? What the heck what is it that men are so threatened by in all societies? Look at the way in other countries and how they're so suppressed.
Well, I think because women have mysterious power over them, and they don't like it. Who begets every one of them? There would be not a man in the world if a woman hadn't birthed them, right? Women, I think, are mysterious, frightening things in many ways.
And mysterious power over them.
Yes, we mother them, so we care for them, and then they need... look, who the hell knows? Smarter people than us have looked into all of this stuff. And again...
Actually, I read that it's the rejection of, like nature, how the mother will stop breastfeeding because it's time to stop breastfeeding. And like in nature, how... they chase the young males out of the nest and out of the herd, out of the pack, blah, blah, blah. But
they do that to the females, too. I mean, that's what a parent's job is to fledge, to raise and fledge, let go of. It's something that a lot of parents today don't seem to be capable of. They never let their kids go.
Oh, dear God. But, hey, also on the false eyelashes, I got to tell you, when I put my makeup on and get my thing together, it's akin to war paint. It's like I feel I don't know stronger or something when I look good.
I understand. Yeah. We all do.
We all do. We all do. How are we all have our lengths to which we will or will not go, and it turns out that the older I get, the less I put on the war paint because I just don't think it looks as good. I think it just settles in all the cracks and makes me look older. So screw it.
No, they do say the older. Here's again: the older you get, the less makeup you should wear. And believe me, there's truth in that. I think that one there's truth in. Hey, I got to run because we're. Okay.
Okay. Real quick, I got to say, hey, when I run into a little girl, I am so honored about not saying anything about her appearance. I find a way to go to how smart she is. I don't care how it is. I pull it out of anywhere. Oh, that's so smart. Because boom, there it is.
Yeah, even if she says hello. I mean, you can't say
I find a way,
smart.
honey. I usually have my. Okay. Oh no, I find there's you bring it, you can do it. Whoa, we
okay, because I
love
trust
you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to do false praise. No,
but you'd be surprised how many different things, how many different ways you can think of because you do it with a little boy. Oh, what a great truck that is. I mean, how did you know what kind of a truck that was?
Yeah, but truck. There you go. I don't know. Anyway, Suze,
Hey, my grandson's first big gift was a kitchen so that he could cook right alongside his dad.
Yeah, this is good. I know a lot of guys.
And he went right over to his Legos as soon as he could.
He'd a builder.
Anyway.
So, I do want to. I think we should stop beating up on men for a while.
Yeah. I
feel
like
bad
them
about
fine.
it because we have known and loved some wonderful men in our lives, and I want to,
and would prefer to think that they were not the exception.
Right, and I would like to acknowledge that some of you guys are simply wonderful. Just not enough of you. There's just not enough. I'm sorry, and I think the guys are finding out, and it must be shocking to them, how men that they looked up to and thought they knew how they behave, finding out how they behave behind closed doors with women. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of men who are shocked. I mean, did you ever in a million years, Susan, think that some guy would think you wanted to see his private parts? I mean, did that ever occur to you in your life? Hey, look, I mean, other than a flash or some,
No, I think our brother was very accurate when decades ago he described sex as the ugliest part of the man's
don't
body.
say it. Don't friggin' say it. Susan, our brother has promulgated more.
You brought it up.
I didn't bring that up. Jesus. And never mind. Our brother, he is so fucked up. He ended up writing entire books, right, about this. But
right.
But it screwed me
and
up.
humiliation.
No, to have him as an older brother with his exquisite self-consciousness made me, I think, much more self-conscious than I ever would have been.
Well, obviously, and the joke is look who has the most kids.
Yeah, well, so it doesn't take much, huh?
About 3 beers, apparently.
All right, we got to just stop.
I'm sorry, you brought it up.
Susan.
Okay, well, let's go back to where you were. I mean, why would any man want to show you his you-know-what, and what would I think of it?
Well, I just read somewhere, it was a stupid thing about saying Charlie Rose, more women have come forward and what he did. And there was a thing about...
constantly exposing
yeah,
himself.
there was
What
a
is
thing
this?
about... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he, Charlie C.K., Weinstein... what is this thing that somebody thinks that a woman finds that beguiling in any way? I don't know a woman. I do not know a woman. Do you?
No.
Who would find that anything but the most unbelievable turnoff?
I mean, it makes... Lynn, doesn't it make you want to carry a pack of scorecards, 1 to 10, and then if someone exposes themselves, you just hold up a card? What, 2?
Well, that's all you need. You don't need a pack. Just have a card that says 2.
Or 2, right.
It happens so much. God. Of all the things that have happened to me in my life, that one never has. And that's one of the things that I have found so astonishing. Who knew? I first found out about it with the sexting crap and finding out that men, like Brett Favre and others, thought it was, and what's his name, Wiener, thought it was a turn-on to send a picture, a dick pic. Who knew there was such a thing? And I can't even, for the life of me, cannot. Man.
Well, there are a couple of ways of looking at that anatomy. It's either a thing of beauty or a necessary evil. Those are your 2.
No, that is not the 2. What is with you? Susan. My God. Oh, I knew it. I was going to say, for you to be talking about our brother like this, when one of the listeners, well, and she's just emailed, is his secretary.
Well, of course.
Laura.
Well, she's worked for him for years.
Well, Laura, yeah, I don't think he talks to her about this stuff, does he? So Laura
I have no idea.
My brother's secretary at the law school at the University of Michigan has just written in and said, your brother was and is correct. Laura!
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Thank you. Here she was castigating me, and there you are. Okay, go on, Lynn. Continue.
Well, okay, so we obviously never, for those of you who don't even know what we're talking about, then I'll say it, okay? My brother said to me, I suppose he said it to you too, at some, point in our young lives when it was not helpful. You know what sex is? So he's a kid. Sex is when a man takes the ugliest part of his body and sticks it into the ugliest part of the woman's body. That is how sex was described to me.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Oh, for God's sake!
Read the email.
I read it. Your brother was and is correct. Good to hear Susan's laughter. This has been an eye-opener of a show for me. I realize how old I am, says Laura. Me too. Jesus H. Sorry, Laura. I want to apologize on behalf of my entire family. We haven't... Jesus.
I don't know. I guess I'm so old and deadened by this administration that for the life of me I can't see what's wrong with that.
Well, see, we are. It's such a coarse, repulsive culture. Ugh, we're all sullied. We have a caller. God help us. Hello.
How you doing?
Fine.
We're fine. You're brave. Go ahead.
Oh no. What I was going to say is, I agree that women, there's a double standard. They have to look a certain way in that. But I have no problem either way. If people don't want to color their hair, fine. If they don't, fine. If they want to get Botox, get Botox. If it makes you feel good, some people use it as an antidepressant to make themselves feel good. So I have no problem. They go to the gym because of that. Dress different because of that. There's not always a situation where, it's a job or something. It just makes people feel better about themselves. And I don't see nothing wrong with that, in my opinion on it.
Well, but all the things you mentioned, not necessarily going to the gym, but Botox or coloring your hair.
It's going to make you feel better and look better.
Yeah, I know, but it is all to meet some ideal of what we're supposed to look like, It is saying that my natural hair is somehow wanting, or my skin tone is wanting, when in fact it's perfectly natural, and we have a very narrow idea of what constitutes feminine beauty, and it has always made I'd say a majority of women feel unattractive.
Well, but I'd like to point out that we've managed to make a lot of men equally insecure about themselves.
Well, now we have.
And they're running around yanking hair out of their bodies like idiots,
yeah, I know.
too.
I know.
And Botoxing, too. So,
No, the superficiality is spreading, and it is spreading over to men. So you got guys now, worrying in the same way that women have worried in the past. Like it's all just some kind of a test of the shell of you. Wouldn't you rather live in a culture in which the tests were about the important stuff about you, your soul, your brain, your heart, your goodness? And our culture doesn't in any way value any of that. It's all totally superficial for men and for women, I think. But I appreciate, caller, I appreciate your non-judgmental view. That so whatever makes somebody, just let it be. Let people be. That's a good start.
Yeah.
One other thing before I leave. I don't know if you knew this, but Trump's an a-hole. I just want to let you know. Okay. Have a good day.
Okay, goodbye.
I feel so much better now.
This just in. Trump.
Yeah.
Little Tony wants to.
Yeah, I don't mean to make people feel bad. and I agree. It's whatever makes you feel better, and that changes as where you are in life changes. That said, I think the culture is hard on us all, and it would be better for each of us, if we were willing to see the beauty that comes from within.
Yes.
Because that's in the end.
Right.
But that is in the end what you end up responding to.
I agree. Kinda. Okay, so let's get away from this. Onto something happy. Onto something wonderful. Speaking of some a living being that's been taking it on the chin for its entire existence, I give you the rat. Right? Rats.
Yeah, which I think are just big mice. Go ahead.
Well, there are people who have rats as pets. And I'm actually looking at a picture of a smiling woman with a rat on her shoulder, and his unbelievably long tail, skinny, hairless, horrible-looking, sorry to me, tail, is curled around her smiling mouth and down her other arm. So, after reading this article, I am now such a fan of these rats, I can't see straight. And I can see actually being that woman, happily. I'm talking about a specific rat. It's the African giant pouched rat. And there's a nonprofit organization in Belgium where some guy who had been breeding and training rats for doing all kinds of jobs that humans, wouldn't want to do, decided, first of all, did you know that, well, I guess it makes sense, that rats have an extraordinary sense of smell.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. They are so hypersensitive that they have been trained, they can detect tuberculosis in sputum samples more accurately than lab tests. They, at an airport, can sniff you. We have dogs walking around. Let me tell you, these rats, much better at it. If you're looking for explosives, the rats will find the slightest trace anywhere. They should have these at every TSA, what do you call them, installation. African
Checkpoint.
Giant pouched rats. And they are now part of an elite Special Forces unit. The rat. And you know what they're being used for in countries all over the world? Africa, Asia. Sniffing out landmines. Now, you know how many people, even after a war is resolved, die years and years later because they trip some landmine that was buried somewhere. And these rats, one rat, can clear an area that would take a human being 4 days to clear in a half hour. And they never, and as the article says, they work for peanuts, literally. They're already, don't you love that, though? They're deployed in Cambodia, in Mozambique, in Colombia. They're going to start using them. And here's the wonderful thing. You let these rats go. They weigh about 3 to 4 pounds. You let them go on specific area that you want to make sure is clear. And they will do it in a, as I said, in a split second compared to humans. And if perchance they step on a landmine, they don't set it off.
No, they're too light to set it off.
So not one rat has ever been killed in ridding the world of landmines. Just 2 years ago, almost 9,000 people worldwide were killed or maimed by these things. And the other cool thing about these rats that makes them better than dogs for this kind of business, they do not bond with a specific trainer. They'll be as happy to work for me as they are for you. Once they're trained, they can be sent from trainer to trainer with no problem at all. Once trained, they are good for 7 to 8 years. And they've been doing this for 20 years, although they're picking up the pace because they're so clearly the best thing we know to do this. There's no reason why you should have, like the movie The Hurt Locker. There is no reason for human beings to do this. And in fact, they should have these. Every police department should have one. So if they find some package somewhere, right? Because they can be taught to sniff.
They should be at the post office and UPS. You're sure?
Yeah. So they aren't even starting to figure out what you can use them for. But if they can detect tuberculosis, if you just spit into a cup, faster than any tests we have that can be done scientifically, then, man, let the rats do it. Anyway, we have a call, I think. Caller, hi.
Mike in D.
Hi,
Hey, Lynn,
Mike.
it's Mike in D.C.
Hi.
Rats to that story. I want to get back to Rachel.
And her eyelashes? Okay.
Yeah, and her eyelashes. I'll bet you any amount of money she does that because she gets the most bang for the buck, meaning it goes on quickly. But more importantly, as she's leaving the set, she throws up her blazer. With one hand, she rips off the right one. The other hand, she rips off the left one. She hands it to the makeup person, puts on a ball cap, and is in the car before 10:10.
No.
Okay.
I'll bet you any money that's why she does it.
Okay, and Mike in D.C., I have this to say to you. You don't know how, I'm sure that her eyelashes are put in one at a time and they stay there.
You think she's had
You
them?
don't rip off anymore. You rip off your own eyelashes.
Really? Because when I did a show called La Caja Fall, and we wore false eyelashes, and they were the easiest things ever to pull off.
Oh, yeah, yes. You used to just, and I'm sure the ones you get at Walgreens are still like that, but the ones that they use now, they put on with this glue that they don't rip right off.
And it's a single lash at a time.
Yes.
It is. And what about those threaded eyelashes I keep seeing advertised? There's a place in Shadyside that says, we thread. What does that mean? They sew?
Well, I'm clearly out of my element here. I thought I came up with a genius plot.
Okay, but let me just say, I'm glad that I'm not the only one that thinks she's wearing them, though, and it just disheartens me.
Yeah, and as soon as Susan said that, and I saw her, I looked at her, and I think I was disheartened too, because especially she is who she is, and got her success without having these big friggin' lashes, and now somehow somebody has gotten to her and said you need these in some way, and she doesn't.
Everybody has a boss. And our boss probably said on camera, you look like white and pasty. We need to do something about that. And she chose the ones the easiest to do. But Susan says they're not easy. So
no, I don't think they're easy anymore. And you can bet she doesn't do them herself, that somebody does do that.
Right.
Yeah, no, she's in a chair, and she's getting done, and I just,
Here's where we'll know we've totally lost her, if she starts growing her hair and making it blonde.
No, because now she's an older woman and looks better in short hair, they say.
But if she makes it blonde or puts highlights in. Anyway, so, okay, Mike, what do you know? I'm sorry. Men don't know from nothing about these accoutrements.
Oh, no, some men know better about all of this than I do, I can assure you.
All right.
I'll stop calling when it's on women's issues. Bye.
No. You're great. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Do not.
Bye. Well, maybe gay men. I don't know. Ray writes, ladies, I have sought out your brother's lectures and bought and loved his Disgust book. He is quite the genius in my estimation. Maybe it's an old man thing, but the socio-political influence of disgust is currently underestimated. Oh, it's huge. Yeah. As far as the massive influence of narcissistic self-absorption driving our current culture, consider it might be a reaction to disgust. Well, the adorning of ourselves in certain ways is a reaction to, I guess, a sense of disgust in our natural state. Wouldn't that be it, Susan? Part of it?
No, but isn't he saying more that the current socio-political state that we find ourselves in is because so many people were disgusted by the leniency of the time that came before it?
As far as the
like
massive
this
influence
rise
of narcissism,
in everybody's rights, sexually and otherwise.
I don't know. I mean, what's more disgusting than what we've got now? I mean,
well, I agree, but
culturally,
I don't know.
All right, as to my brother being a genius, let me just say that yes, in some areas he is. And in other areas he is, shall we say, challenged, to be politically correct.
Yeah, not so much.
He is
although he's mellowed as
he's been medicated. So
as he's been medicated.
So let us say, but this is where you often hear that if all the geniuses who have lived were medicated, and many of them needed to be by our standards now, their output of genius, of thinking, of philosophy, of art would not have existed, right?
No, it rises out of their torment, so to speak.
Right. Out of inner torment, turmoil, the way they view the world. But yeah, our brother is, he's something. But it's one thing, I mean, yeah, but there's different kinds of intelligence, right? Would you say, Susan, his emotional intelligence is at a genius level?
Yeah, no.
Thank you. No. So, there's different...
I mean, I do recall standing on a chair screaming at him more than once to cut it out.
Yeah, I know. No. We love him dearly, and yes, he's had an huge impact on our lives. Mostly, I think, mine, by virtue of
and all of our
by
lives.
virtue
of
my
sheltered.
proximity.
I was sheltered just by years.
Yeah. I mean, I was born just 14 months after him. So
you're right.
Practically
and I,
like
5
twins.
years.
Yeah, 4.5. Don't make it any worse. Oi, Susan. I think I'm in a mood. Do you know my kids got the flu?
Oh, no.
This awful flu. It's May. We actually went to one of those, urgent-care places, and yesterday.
Oh, you must have felt terrible.
Yeah, and because I started getting nervous with the fever and the this and that. Yeah, and the doc said, it's the flu. It's this damn flu. It's still around. So.
Well, is he better?
He said this morning that he was afraid to say it, a little bit better. He got sick Friday, so the doctor seemed to think he would need till Friday at least to return to work. I can tell he's getting antsy. But, yeah. Well, you knew how, here's how I knew how sick he was. He stayed at my house.
So he came home.
Well, I would too. I think when you're that sick, you don't want to.
You need to have someone to take care of you.
Yeah, you need someone to tend to you. Right. So anyway, I'm quite certain that I will, of course, then get the flu.
Maybe not.
I who've been sidestepping it for, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if it turns out I go down, if I somehow am not here in the near future, you can bet that's what it is. I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. I just want to, oh, never mind. Okay. Barbara sent me a nice long thing to read about the Southern Baptist Convention, which is the largest Protestant denomination, and how a bunch of women there are freaking out. Southern Baptist women freaking out about the leader of that convention.
The total lack of moral and ethical adherence to Christianity.
Well, as it relates to women.
Women and sex.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Women have highlighted other comments he has made, including one sermon in 2014 in which he described a 16-year-old girl walking by, saying that she was nice. One young man commented, "Man, is she built." Patterson said a woman scolded the young man, and Patterson then responded, "Ma'am, leave him alone. He is just being biblical." And the audience laughed. So it's biblical to say to a young girl walking by, "Man, is she built." And it's funny when the minister says he's just being biblical. Yeah. Well, I got to tell you,
he was displaying his heterosexuality.
Yeah. The fury of women, I think, is just beginning. That's my guess. And we're in for an ugly reckoning and then a consequent backlash and God knows what. So, Susan, be good to our mom. I'm glad she's on the mend.
Me too.
Yeah. And you'll be home on today, later.
No, I have canceled out several days, and we are going back on Thursday.
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay, great.
No, we just want to make sure that we're totally on the mend, and we've got stuff to do around here if I'm to whisk her back to Chicago. So
okay, got it. Thank you. Sorry for the the private conversation.
Sorry for attending to family business, audience. Bye.
Okay, bye, Suze.
Bye.
Goodbye, and goodbye. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.